Shalom, this is Rob Vanhoff coming back for Chapter 8 of Dr. Mounce's Basics of Biblical Greek, the fourth edition, published by Zondervan. We're going to be going through it alphabetically here as it occurs in the printed and in the accordance version. That's the electronic version that you see on the screen. So feel free to grab your book or just follow along. Each of these words also appears in the lexicon at the back of the printed book. So our first word here is Allah. Allah. Notice the smooth breathing over the alpha. And then we have a form that is the contracted form, al, when that last alpha elides and we have a word that comes after it that begins with a vowel. So if we were to say yet Jesus, for example, Allah Jesus becomes Al Jesus. You see what happens here. So that final alpha there is negotiable. It's not necessary depending on the situation. It means but, yet, or rather 638 times. Our next word is a preposition apo, and it means from, and see how it says gen here. That means it works with a genitive. So if we had a noun in the genitive, we would have the meaning away from or away from 646 times. Notice also we have elision that happens up or af, depending upon the beginning of the following word. So there is a kind of accommodation or easification of the speech that happens depending on what the next word is. And Mounce gives a good description of that here. Our next word is a preposition dia. Dia. And it's with the elision di. And it has two meanings depending upon the case of the noun that follows it. If the noun that follows it is a genitive, it would be through. If it's followed by an accusative, it would be on account of. So in chapter 7, we learned huios, which is the word for son. Well, we know that's a masculine. It would be ha huios. But the genitive would be huiu. So if I said dia huiu, that would be through a son. But if I put the word huios into the accusative, huion, and I said dia huion, that would be on account of a son. So that's how that will work. And we'll get plenty of exercise of that in class time and in our translations. But notice this is one of the prepositions that will have a different meaning dependent upon the case of the noun that comes after it. Next, we have a verb we're introduced to, eimi, and it means I am, I exist, I live, I am present. Notice 2,462 occurrences. So this is a super high frequency verb, eimi. And the chapter goes through the different forms of eimi, but here we'll just have the lexical form being the first person singular, I. Okay, next we have the preposition ek. This preposition takes the genitive and means from or out of. And if the following word after ek or after this preposition starts with a vowel, we get the kappa shifts to a xi and we get x. X. And one example, it actually becomes one word, but the word exodus, right? Which is out of the way, right? Or something like that. So ex plus a genitive hodu, ex odu would be out of a way or something like that, out of a path. We'll continue on here. Hemera, feminine noun. Hemeras would be of a day. Hemera is the day. Hemera. And 389 occurrences. So it's a first declension noun. One other verb we're just given for now. This is technically the imperfect. Ein, imperfect of Amy. It means he, she, it was, but it has an enduring, continual aspect with past time. So ein, just for now, we'll just say it means he, she, or it was. Next, we have a noun, thalassa. Thalassa, and the genitive, thalasses, of a sea, of a lake, and then he. He thalassa, the sea. Thalassa, so it's feminine noun. Next, we have another vocab word that begins with a theta, thanatos. Thanatos. Notice its genitive is thanatu. Thanatu, and the definite article is ho, and it means death. Ho thanatos means death or the death. On to the next page, hina. Hina. Notice we have a iota that has a rough breathing and an accent. Hina. In order that, or so that. Next, we have a proper name coming into Greek. Of course, this is not a Greek name, but it's the name John. Ioannes. 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 The genitive would be Ioannou, like of John. Ioannou. Definite article is ho. Remember, in Greek, unlike Hebrew and English, a name can have a definite article. But we wouldn't do that in English. We wouldn't say the John or the David, had David, like in Hebrew. The only place we would get something close in John or in English would be which, if there's two Johns in the room and I say which John, you say the John in the kitchen, right? The John, the one who is in the kitchen. That's a way in English where you'd get away with using a definite article. But in Greek, it's not a problem at all. We see it all the time. Ha Ioannes. Next, we have a verb, lego. Lego. I say, or I am saying, I am speaking. Lego. Again, we're only getting little breadcrumbs of verbs right now because we turn and focus on verbs in several chapters down the road. Right now, we're just learning that, we're getting enough little verbal familiarity in order to get through some homework that the focus of which is all these nouns and prepositions. Next, we have a preposition that has two meanings depending on the noun that follows it. Meta, meta. If it's the word after it is genitive, it means with. If it's accusative, it means after. So with or after. And again, we have letters that can drop out with the apostrophe, and we get met or meth depending on the words that follow. Next, we have oikia. Oikia. Smooth breathing, accent on the key. Oikia. Feminine would, or it's a feminine noun, obviously, with the definite article he, and the genitive would be oikias. Oikias, of a house or of a home. He oikia would be the house. And then related to the same root, obviously, related to that noun, oikos means house or home. Ha oikos, the house. Oiku, of a house, of a home. This word means crowd or multitude. It's a masculine noun. You can see ho, the definite article. Ochlos. So this letter here is a chi. Ochlos. Ochlos. Ochlu, of a multitude. Ha ochlos. That's going to be the multitude. Para is a preposition. Remember, that's not a P. That's a rho. So it's letter P or pi, alpha, rho, alpha. Para, with the shortened form par. But notice, it can take all three of these cases to have a different nuance. So para plus a genitive means from. Para plus a dative means beside or in the presence of. Para plus an accusative means alongside of. So para has a nice semantic range. Next, we have a word you've probably heard where we get the word parabola, parabole. Parabole. Notice it's a feminine noun, so first declension. He parabole, the parable. Of a parable would be paraboles. The next we have pros. Pros, that takes the accusative. So the noun following pros will be in the accusative case, and it means to, towards, or with. Pros. 700 times it occurs. Finally, we have the word hupa or hupo, and the shortened forms hoop and hoof. But notice the upsilon is always given a rough breathing, so we pronounce that with the H in English, hupo. It takes two, depending on which preposition, it'll have two different meanings. If hupa is followed by a genitive, it means by. If it's followed by an accusative, a noun in the accusative case, it will mean under. Isn't that great? Now look at this. We have the total word count in the New Testament, again, is the same, 138,148. All the vocab up through chapter 8 is 72. This chapter alone, over 11,000, but all the chapters so far through chapter 8, multiplied by their number of occurrences, we've crossed the halfway mark, friends, 52.22%. And I like how Mounce highlights this for us. You now know more than 1 out of every 2 word occurrences in the New Testament. Congratulations. So good work. We see the importance of doing this vocab work and staying on top of it. Write out the words, sound them out. You can watch these videos that I'm doing and write them out while I'm going through them. You can make yourself flashcards, any number of ways that you can just reinforce that learning for yourself. And be sure to celebrate, just like Dr. Mounce says here, congratulations. Shalom, everybody.